Listen, I'm in charge. What's up, YouTube? It's Big Ryan the Fat Guy. Give us your best insults in the comments. Big Ryan is bulletproof, and we'll see if the Fat Guy can take the heat. He's never seen a kitchen he didn't like. Week 15 was break-even for us. In a tame betting week, Big Ryan the Fat Guy still went 7-7-2 against the spread. Week 15 was low-lighted by a blowout loss for the Seahawks at Quest Field, but it was highlighted by bold bets on both the Chiefs and the Bucks.
Now, not to toot my own horn here, as I'm about to toot my own horn, but Fat Guy's never had a losing week since we've been doing this. And that's against the spread. Find someone else doing that. You won't. I'll give you this week in stupid. Jason Russell Award goes to Chargers29, Baked Brains, and Hudson Hind Dersh, who, like Jason Russell about Coney 2012, didn't know what they were doing when they picked the Chargers over the Chiefs. They, like the Chargers, will be left jacking it in San Diego when the playoffs come rolling around. The consolation prize goes to Jason Wolf, who got Parkinson's by proxy like Michael J. Fox did during the filming of Teen Wolf. Now the insult of the week goes to Rick Boyd with, "Fat Guy is so fat, fell down on my couch and rocked himself to sleep trying to get up." Now Rick Boyd seems like the kind of guy who would buy a luxury two-door sedan just for a free round of golf.
Now on to our Week 16 picks. We have another Saturday doubleheader. In the early game, the Colts travel to Baltimore to take on the Ravens. The Ravens are 13.5-point favorites. Currently, 40% of the public have taken the Ravens to cover at home. Fat Guy, who you got?
Now I'm not one to play horseshoes, but I'm going to take a rag of Colts over a kindness of Ravens. Now the public's favoring the Colts. The Colts have been on a 2-game skid against the spread, but I'm going to take them because I think the number's way too high. The Ravens are good, but are they that good? 13.5? Give me the Colts.
In the late game, the Vikings travel to Green Bay to take on the Packers. Because of the uncertainty if Aaron Rodgers will play, the line and percentages have not been posted. However, there is no reason Rodgers should play because the Packers have been eliminated from Super Bowl contention. We project the Vikings will be 6.5-point road favorites. Fat Guy, who do you got in this one?
I mean, I'm not too gangbusters about this game, and I'm not a big fan of Brett Hundley. But if it's 6.5 and they're at home, it's not like the Packers are going to quit. They're one of those franchises that'll continue playing. So I'll take the points, I'll take Hundley, and I'll regret it later.
Moving on to the 9 Sunday early games, the Lions travel to Cincinnati to take on the Bengals. The Lions are 4.5-point road favorites. Only 19% of the public have taken the Bengals to cover at home. Fat Guy, who you got?
Like strawberries covered in chocolate, this might be a favorite of the Fat Guys. Who am I kidding? I just like chocolate. Cincinnati is 4.5-point underdogs at home, and only 19% of the public is on them. That kind of disparity really sets off a red light for me. I'll take Cincinnati and I'll take the points, and I think they could be a little upset brewing here. They've been very vacuous as of late, mindlessly playing and throwing. I think the Bengals have enough fight in them to win just one last game for the old departed Marvin Lewis.
Next up, the Chargers travel to New York to take on the Jets. The Chargers are 6.5-point road favorites. Currently, 49% of the public have taken the Jets to cover at home. Fat Guy, who you got?
I'm going to appease the masses here, and I'm going to take the LA Chargers for the first time. They were alright against the Chiefs, but they've been on a pretty good roll up until that game. The Jets still have Bryce Petty at quarterback, and I think he's going to be overwhelmed with the pass rush. I'm going to lay the points on the road, not a favorite thing to do of mine, and alright people, I'm taking the Chargers.
Next up, the Rams travel to Tennessee to take on the Titans. The Rams are 6.5-point road favorites. Only 23% of the public have taken the Titans to cover at home. Fat Guy, who you got?
I really like Tennessee. Now, I'm going to admit it, the Rams looked unbelievable against the Seahawks. Huge road win in Seattle, divisional game, revenge game for Seattle. All the odds against them, and the Rams showed up. Are they capable of doing it again against Tennessee? Absolutely. In this case, I don't think they will. I think Tennessee's looking for a bounce-back game, and they're going to bounce back in a big way. They need to get back on playoff track after losing a stunner, more or less, to the 49ers. I think Mariota's going to have a turnaround. I think the Rams are going to have an underwhelming performance after an overwhelming performance. So I'm going to take the points at home, and I'm going to take the Tennessee Titans.
Next up, the Browns travel to Chicago to take on the Bears. The Bears are 7-point favorites. Currently, 57% of the public have taken the Bears to cover at home. Fat Guy, who you got?
I'm going to go against everything I believe, and I'm going to take the Chicago Bears. The Bears, you say. Are they 7 points better than anybody? No, except maybe the Cleveland Browns. I think they're going to be able to run all over them, and I think they're going to finish strong. If Cleveland has any sort of chance of winning a game, this would be the week, but I still don't think they do it. I'm going to lay the points, and I'm going to take the underwhelming Bears.
Next up, the Bucks travel to Carolina to take on the Panthers. The Panthers are 9.5-point favorites. A whopping 78% of the public have taken the Panthers to cover at home. Fat Guy, who you got?
I'm going to take the Bucks. I probably shouldn't, considering all the injuries. They had a pretty good performance, too, on Monday night. Like I said, Atlanta by 3, if anyone's listening. I think the Bucks can keep it close in another divisional game. I'm not a fan of them. Dirk Cutter's on his way out. Jameis Winston, not my favorite, but I like the amount of points that they're getting, and I think they'll be able to keep it close against the Panthers.
Next up, we have the Falcons traveling to New Orleans to take on the Saints. The Saints are 5.5-point favorites. Currently, 41% of the public have taken the Saints to cover at home. Fat Guy, who you got?
The Saints are still good. I'm taking the Saints. I don't like laying points in any fashion, but this is a nice revenge matchup for the Saints. They weren't able to do it the first time in Atlanta, but it's time for them to do it in New Orleans. They're going to keep a strong run game, they're going to control the clock, and they are going to beat the Atlanta Falcons, and they're going to cover that number.
Next up, we have the Broncos traveling to Washington to take on the Redskins. The Redskins are 3.5-point favorites. Currently, 52% of the public have taken the Skins to cover at home. Fat Guy, who you got?
I can see Cousins and the Comanches riding those Broncos through the plains of Abraham. I like a win here by the Washington Redskins. I seem to pick them every week, and this is going to be no different. Brock Osweiler looked actually good against the Colts. I don't think that's going to happen against the Redskins. So I'll lay the points, and I will take Cousins and the Comanches.
Next up, we have the Dolphins traveling to Kansas City to take on the Chiefs. The Chiefs are 10-point favorites. Currently, 44% of the public have taken the Chiefs to cover at home. Fat Guy, who you got?
I'm going to jump here on the Dolphins. 10 points almost seems fishy, like the Chiefs were just going to absolutely destroy them. But my eyes couldn't lie to me when they beat the Patriots on Monday Night Football. They predictably lost to the Buffalo Bills on the weekend, but I think they're going to be able to keep it within the number. 10 points between those two teams, I think, is a little bit high.
Bringing up the Bills, they're up next. They travel to New England to take on the Patriots. The Patriots are 12.5-point favorites. Currently, 59% of the public have taken the Patriots to cover at home. Fat Guy, who you got?
Speaking of high spreads, 12.5 is a high number. It's a revenge game. It's a divisional game for the Bills. I see them keeping it within the sticks. 12.5, give me the points, give me the Bills, give me another Patriots underwhelming performance.
Now let's take a look at the 3 Sunday late games. First off, we have the Jags traveling to San Francisco to take on the 49ers. The Jags are 4-point road favorites. Currently, 34% of the public have taken the 49ers to cover at home. Fat Guy, who you got?
Can Jimmy G keep this San Francisco winning streak alive? I'm thinking he can. 4 points is a number that I don't think they even need. I think the San Francisco 49ers might win this game. Garoppolo has been absolutely fantastic, leading game-winning drive after game-winning drive. That does help with the leg of Robbie Gould, nailing 6 kicks against the Tennessee Titans. He's going to have to get in the red zone, though, against this tough Jacksonville Jaguars D. Now, the only thing I'm worried about is if they're playing any Cher music in the stadium, both the 49ers and Jalen Ramsey might just stand around and look up.
Next up, the Giants travel to Arizona to take on the Cardinals. The Cardinals are 4-point favorites. Currently, 38% of the public have taken the Cards to cover at home. Fat Guy, who you got?
The one thing I don't like is that the Cards have switched from Gabbert to Drew Stanton. I'm not sure if that might be the right move. It's creating contention in the locker room, and they need to keep one or both of those guys for the season coming next year. So that kind of dissension, I'm not really in favor of. Speaking of dissension, I'm going to take the New York Giants and the points. They put a good fight up against the Philadelphia Eagles, and I'm going to look for them to do the same against the fledgling Arizona Cardinals.
Next up, the Seahawks travel to Dallas to take on the Cowboys. The Cowboys are 5-point favorites. Currently, 60% of the public have taken the Cowboys to cover at home. Fat Guy, who you got?
Now, nobody has confidence in the Seattle Seahawks, hence the 5-point spread on the road in Dallas, except for me. This number is too high. Dallas is not that good of a team. They should have lost in Oakland, let alone winning by 3. I think the Seattle Seahawks are a better squad despite many deficiencies in many areas. So I'll take Wilson, I'll take the points.
In Week 16, Monday Night Football is a doubleheader. In the first game, the Steelers travel to Houston to take on the Texans. The Steelers are 10-point road favorites. Currently, 42% of the public have taken the Texans to cover at home. Fat Guy, who you got?
Well, I like that the spread's out, despite the Houston quarterback situation being undecided. That means that they don't really care who plays quarterback, and I'll be honest, neither do I. It's 10 points on the road. The Steelers don't blow out anybody. Every game is close no matter who. I hope that's the case this weekend, so I'll take Houston at home and the 10 points. Double-digit dogs usually cover at home.
In the final game of the week, the Raiders travel to Philadelphia to take on the Eagles. The Eagles are 9-point favorites. A whopping 75% of the public have taken the Eagles to cover at home. Fat Guy, who you got?
This is the most baffling line of the week for me. 9 points just seems way too much between the Oakland Raiders and the Philadelphia Eagles, especially with the Eagles having to use backup quarterback Nick Foles. Now I'm going to have to concede that the Raiders have looked putrid on offense. They weren't able to move the ball against Dallas efficiently, except in the dying seconds with pass interference calls going their way. So how are they going to be able to do it against the Eagles? The Eagles let Eli Manning put up a pretty reasonable day at home. I don't see why Derek Carr can't do the same thing. 9 is a huge number. I could see the Eagles winning by 7, so that's enough to keep it within a covering range. So I'm going to take the Raiders. This looks like a pretty decent bet.
Now, moving on to the lightning round. Saturday, we have Indy at Baltimore.
I'll take a rag of Colts.
Minnesota at Green Bay.
The Packers.
Sunday's early games, Detroit at Cincinnati.
Bungle's gonna bungle.
Chargers at Jets.
The very popular Los Angeles Chargers.
Rams at Titans.
Tennessee Titans.
Browns at Bears.
Underwhelming Bears.
Bucks at Panthers.
Pirate Winter. Buccaneers.
Falcons at Saints.
Nolans Saints.
Broncos at Skins.
Cousins and the Comanches.
Dolphins at Chiefs.
Adam Gase's Fins.
Bills at Patriots.
Ty God and the Buffalo Bills.
On the Sunday night late games, Jacksonville at San Francisco.
The come-from-behind 49ers.
Giants at Arizona.
Steve Spagnuolo and the lowly Giants.
Seattle at Dallas.
Wilson's weak Seahawks.
On to Monday Night Football, Pittsburgh at Houston.
Houston Texans.
And to finish off the week, Oakland at Philly.
Pirate Winter Raiders.
Bronies, that's it for us. Good luck in Week 16. By the way, it's really lodged in there. Thanks for watching. Remember to like, comment, and subscribe for more Big Ryan the Fat Guy.